Welcome back to The Explainer, everyone. Today, we are diving into something truly fascinating. We're going to bridge the gap between deep, historical Quranic commentary and a super practical daily habit, something that can literally transform your mornings and evenings. We're looking at Surah Al-An'am, and specifically, the incredible spiritual significance packed into its very first 3 verses.
So 24,000. Just take a second and really imagine that. Imagine having exactly 24,000 angels continuously praying for you. And we're not talking about just for a day or a week, but giving you the full reward of all their worship every single day, all the way up until the day of judgment. I mean, it sounds almost incomprehensible, right? But as our sources reveal, this is precisely the spiritual guarantee attached to the verses we're unpacking today.
Here's our roadmap for today. First, the ultimate reward. Then we'll step back into Makkah's darkest days. After that, we'll hit the 7 core themes, analyze the first 3 ayats, and finally, uncover the final promised rewards.
Section 1. Makkah's darkest days.
Okay, so to really appreciate the power of these verses, we have to look at the context. According to the Tafhim al-Quran commentary, this entire surah was revealed all at once during the late Makkah period. Now you know this wasn't an easy time. The sources describe it as a period of overwhelming grief, intense isolation, and just severe physical and emotional exhaustion for the Prophet and the early believers.
The commentary actually breaks Meccan life down into 4 distinct phases. Phase 1 was those 3 years of secret preaching. Phase 2 brought open preaching and the first waves of real opposition over about 2 years. Then Phase 3 hits, and that's 5 brutal years of escalating physical and social persecution. Literally so severe that a group of believers had to flee to Abyssinia just to survive. And finally, we enter Phase 4, lasting about 3 years. This was the era of the devastating socio-economic boycott and the completely heartbreaking incident of Taif.
By the time we hit this 4th phase, so roughly between the 10th and 13th years of prophethood, the source text notes that basically all worldly support had been severed. The Prophet's closest protectors had passed away, the believers were starving economically, and isolated socially in a mountain pass. It was the ultimate suffocating darkness. And the sources point out something beautiful here. It was in this exact darkest hour that the illuminating divine intervention of Surah Al-An'am was sent down all at once.
Which brings us to Section 2, 7 core themes.
We can actually distill the dense theological commentary from our sources into 7 clear pillars. The surah aggressively refuted polytheism, proved the reality of the afterlife, and rejected the baseless superstitions of the time. It laid down rock-solid moral foundations, logically dismantled the opponent's objections, and powerfully warned those who violently deny the truth. But, amidst all of that heavy theological lifting, a massive focus of the surah was simply comforting the Prophet and those struggling believers.
So there's this incredible stark contrast happening. You have the crushing darkness of worldly persecution on one side, and the brilliant, piercing light of revelation on the other. And it's no coincidence, as the commentary points out, that the very first verse of this surah explicitly mentions Allah creating the darknesses and the light. It's this profound, perfect metaphor for the believer's exact situation at that very moment.
Moving on to Section 3, the first 3 ayats.
Now let's look at the actual text. According to the commentary, these specific verses completely encapsulate the majesty of the Creator, declaring His absolute authority over literally everything in the heavens and the earth. And this right here is where we find that immense spiritual power we've been building towards.
The translation highlights this beautiful truth. All praise is for Allah who created the heavens and the earth and made the darknesses and the light. The verses then go on to establish that He is the one who decreed a term for our lives, and most importantly for us, He possesses absolute knowledge of what we conceal and what we reveal. He knows exactly what deeds we earn. Really understanding this deep theological reality is the absolute key to unlocking the benefits of reciting it.
And finally, Section 4, the final promised rewards.
So apart from those 24,000 angels continuously writing their reward in your record, which is huge on its own, our sources outline an immediate real-world protection. The texts say that when you recite this in the morning and evening, an angel with a whip is appointed to stand guard over you. It literally acts as a physical barrier between you and the whispers and temptations of Satan. It's described as an active, daily spiritual armor. How amazing is that?
But then, there's the breathtaking journey promised for the Day of Judgment, and it follows this amazing, specific sequence. According to the traditions cited in our sources, Allah will invite the reciter to rest safely in the shade of His throne. Next, they'll be given the food of Jannah to eat. After that, they'll be given pure water to drink directly from the Hawd al-Kawthar. And finally, they will bathe in the pristine waters of the Salsabil spring. It's a complete, step-by-step guarantee of safety, sustenance, and ultimate purification on a day when humanity needs it the absolute most.
So what does this all mean for us? We've walked through the absolute darkest historical moments of Makkah. We've seen how these verses arrived as a fortress of spiritual light, and we've laid out the staggering rewards of reciting them according to the sources. Knowing this history and knowing this guaranteed protection, are you ready to make these 3 verses a staple of your morning and evening routines? I mean, it just takes a few seconds, but the texts tell us the impact literally echoes into eternity. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today, and I'll catch you in the next one.